Can dreams be prophetic? Yes, they can. But that's a touchy one. The psychology of dreams is usually you're working off something. You know, your body is constantly trying to keep your metabolism balanced, healthy, and so on. That's why when you cut yourself, you don't have to say, coagulate, come on, coagulate. It just doesn't. The body immediately will go to it. Same thing with dreams. If you're under stress, distress, if you're worried about something, the mind will often try to work it out through the images and the coloration of your dreams. At least relieve some of it, if it can. And sometimes in the dream, it will reveal to you, that's what I got to do. In that sense, dreams can be prophetic. But also they can be prophetic even more profoundly. They can be, they can jump to the future. Because when you think about it, when you decide to drive somewhere in a city, you estimate, you look at the time, you know when people are getting off work, you know basically what streets are heavier than others with traffic, right? And so you kind of gauge your way. So you're being a prophet right there. You're estimating how long it's going to take to get from here to there based upon time, conditions, weather, whether it's snowing, dark or light. So certain energy streams are going on, and sometimes they can get into the dream and you're able to actually see the future. But for the most part, it's hard to figure out because dreams love to play with symbols. And that's the hard part, how to interpret the symbols of the dreams, because sometimes dreams are just crazy. They're weird, as I said, not in any kind of dangerous or scary sense, but just bizarre. So it's hard sometimes.
How about repetitive dreams? If you have the same dream more than once? Like
If you get the same dream more than once, pay attention to it. Analyze it. Go into meditation. Ask your mind to reveal to you, if you can, what the meaning of it is. Ask yourself. It can happen. Did Swami Rama ever talk about UFOs? He talked about UFOs basically the way people talk about ESP. Eat, sleep, and poop.
Eat, sleep, and poop.
That's what he thought of UFOs.
But he believed in life on other planets, right?
No.
No?
He said there might be, but I never got a definitive answer on him, so I can't quote him. He said, who cares anyway? What's more important is right now. It's interesting news. How does karma from past life affect us in this life? Says who? Those of you who've raised children, have you ever noticed, first of all, you know how different each child is. They may be of the same gender, but they're so different. And some very early on have a certain propensity for certain activities, interests, and you wonder, and then some as they grow up start to take a new interest develops out of almost nowhere, and you're puzzled and amused and curious, okay? And then even later in life, I mean 30 or more, you can start to have a profound interest in a whole new aspect of reality. A craft, a commercial interest, whatever, you know, some of you, but you just are so drawn to it. According to the philosophy of reincarnation, these are like seeds waiting to sprout. And you know, in nature, you gotta get the water, you gotta get the sunlight, you just gotta wait. And as this creature grows, depending upon the year, certain new aspects start to develop. Well, you're like that, according to the philosophy of reincarnation. You carry with you a whole array of traits, inclinations, propensities, interests. Some you may drop off in this life. That's enough. New ones may come, and others you may just retain. Now, meditation, however, you can step outside those interests and say, let me look here. Which ones do I want to continue? No, don't like that one. I'm not going to push it. I like this one. I want to develop this one a little more. And as I say, meditation gives you a sense of freedom now to choose rather than be so inclined. And like you see children sometimes, you know already what they're going to grab for in an array of food or desserts. So you can begin to shape your life because of the prominence of the fact you meditate. You can choose what you want. You can also choose what you can draw to your life that way. That's interesting. What you want to have come into your life, you can do that just by intending it strongly, especially for meditation. Okay? You already knew this stuff, I think. Okay. Can you tell us about Sri Vidya and give us a new practice unique to Sri Vidya? India is famous in its philosophical traditions for certain philosophies that were put forth over the centuries. You all heard the word Vedanta, Sankhya, and others. Those probably are more prominent than anything else. They're very different, exceedingly different in many ways. And in Swami's tradition, what they usually do with the monks is they begin to school them in all those various schools of thought. And they do it very intensely. They have to defend them verbally. They just want to get the mind going. Each gives a different perspective on reality. And they all have a certain founder. Everybody knows their names, like Shankara, so on, the Vedanta. And they go through the whole panorama of all the schools. And that's also taught in the university. And some university faculties are more famous for one or other of those schools. And when we were with Swamiji, he started giving, lessons in all of them to us in small ways, but at least it acquainted us and told us what textbooks you could rely upon. It gives fairly accurate. And he explained about the Upanishads, which is a famous word for being near the teacher and getting these insights which developed into a type of mythology. But the one thing that they never touch in the colleges is Sri Vidya. In our tradition, that's the centerpiece. They want the monks, as best they can, to be schooled in the other thoughts. Compare, contrast. Why do you think this is truer about reality than this? And then they hit them with Sri Vidya. Now, I've been only reading Sri Vidya for 40 years, so I'm still a little behind. To my mind, and I'm amazed how this happens, Sri Vidya is closer to Greek philosophy than anything I've ever seen. You'll never see that in a book. And I'm prepared to defend that. Now, what's the key to the Greek philosophy? A full endorsement of life. Matter and spirit. There tends to be philosophies that would emphasize spirit, meaning the intellect, concepts, and sort of downgrade matter and sensuality. You'll find that in the East too. And in Sri Vidya, there's a total, unrestricted endorsement of every aspect of reality for what it is. I'm not trying to say everything's the same. No. It's within that endorsement is the recognition of the uniqueness of all the aspects, the levels, the dimensions, the domains. In other words, if I can make a kind of analogy, they're not trying to reduce everything to roses in Sri Vidya. They want you to appreciate the entire garden for all its uniqueness. They accept limitation. I mean, how long can a scoop of ice cream last, right? But you can sure enjoy it while you're at it. And that's Sri Vidya. They don't downgrade the fact that things are limited, because most things are limited in this world. But they keep coming back, don't they? Like the seasons, like the squalls we had this afternoon. Huh? So, they don't put it down or degrade it because it doesn't last forever. So there's an appreciation for the entire panorama of life and reality. Is this making sense? That's Sri Vidya. That's the heart of our tradition. We never say being a monk is higher than being a married person. Probably most married people are higher than monks, Swami used to say. And here's when he floored me. He said, you are living a higher life than I am. Because you're in the world, dealing with the world. And all its contrivances, its chicanery, and its beauty. My brother monks are up in the cave. You're higher. You've chosen a higher life. How about that? Now, how many monks would tell you that, huh? Because we think, oh, he's a priest, or he's a monk, he's a minister, so high. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. Because that's not reality. You're dealing with life, with your children,
We're in the fire.
You're in the fire, the crucible, huh? You've got sick parents or relatives you gotta worry about. So that's where reality is. And in that you can maintain that inner peace, that transcendence. Now, what does transcendence mean? Let's talk about that. That's very, gotta get that one across tonight. Transcendence does not mean leaving your body, does not mean pushing matter aside and whoof, off I go. No, 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 no. Transcendence means I walk among the chaos, but I'm untouched by it. How about that? I'm uninfluenced by the calamities occurring in my life. They touch me, but I brush them aside. They may hurt me, okay, I'll heal. I do not take offense at what's going on, but I criticize it in my own way. All the chicanery going on in Washington, D.C., you have to be aware of it. And you have to be careful. You don't deny it. You don't have to be a crusader unless you want to, then you gotta take the consequences. So being transcendent means I keep my peace of mind amidst all the calamities occurring, as best I can. I have to train myself. That's where meditation comes in. Because now this is one that you have to reach for, and I can't prove it to you until you get there. But as it were, if I may use the metaphor, that the very center of your being, nothing can touch. No explosive, no betrayal, nothing can touch it. We want you to get there and then cruise out into life. But in the meantime, you keep working at it. Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that you don't feel your feelings though, right? I mean.
Did I ever say that? Did I
No.
give that feeling? No, of course not. If you don't have feelings, you're defective.
Okay.
Remember what I said, an endorsement of life? Show me where feelings are not included in that.
All right.
Come on, be reflective here, buddy. Yeah. You heard a question?
You talk about the center of consciousness. Did you say that? I think you did. Your
Yeah, I use
center.
that as a metaphor, huh?
Can that be related to just recognizing, witnessing that you're a witness?
That's part of it. That's part of it. Did you ever see an artist at work? I mean, a real artist?
I have.
Who? Tell me.
Well, my friend Rip, who just died.
Okay, go to somebody that we all know about. Give me a performer. That is a number one performer. Anybody?
Leonardo, what's his name? DiCaprio? Leonardo.
The actor.
Yeah, the actor.
Okay, he's fine. Now, let's line up a whole series. The actor, say you had somebody performing ballet. Say you had an orchestra leader. Say you had a carpenter working on a fine cabinet. In the midst of their expression of their skill, you have to stay within yourself at the same time. Otherwise, you won't be able to perform properly. You got it? In other words, you stay aware while you're doing your skill. That's transcendence.
And that's the center of consciousness that you talk
Exactly.
about. Okay.
You don't witness yourself, but you're aware of yourself in the act of expressing your art. You got it?
Yeah.
Is being aware of our mantra? while we're through all that, the same thing?
That can be done too, yes, you can involve that the same way. Let's say a mother has triplets. I don't wish it on any of you. And they're all in the same room, and they're all squabbling. They all want attention at the same time. So here you are hopscotching around, right? As you're working with this one, you're listening to what's going on over here, and then you scoot over. That's transcendence. You keep your center, because if you lose that center, what happens?
You can't act.
You can't act. You can't appreciate the others. You can't give them the kind of respect that is due to them because you're unbalanced in one. So that's what transcendence is. It's to be able to walk the tightrope, to move through the traffic and being aware of everything going on and getting out of the way in time without disturbing anything more than you have to. Ready? I'm trying to work through a bunch of analogies here for you to get the sense of it. Now that's Sri Vidya. Swami used to have a phrase. You're in the world, but you're not of the world. Let me tell you a story. There's one left. I have a friend who lives in northern Minnesota who is a business consultant, but this type. If you have a company, let's say Nick has a company, and he wants to expand it. They got a lot of loose cash, they want to, and they got their eye on, say, another company similar to theirs, and they'd like to pull it in and branch out more. But they have no first-hand evidence of what that company's like. I mean, anybody can lie on a stock sheet or something like that. So they hire my friend Bill. He goes into that company, gets permission, because they want to sell their company, and here's a buyer. So the buyer says, okay, but I want my friend to go in and inspect. Fine. You gotta open up all the doors to him. That's what Bill does. And he may spend 2 weeks walking around the company. He talks to everybody, so he gets a feel. He doesn't just stay in one department. He visits the night shift, and he keeps writing a report. And when he's satisfied, because they trust this man because of his reputation, only when he's satisfied, it might take 10 days, it might take 3 weeks. But finally he comes out and says, okay. And in the report he grades it, A, B, C, D, and F. Huh? And usually you won't buy the company unless it's a B. So you can see how important this guy is. Well, he was asked to go down to South America to inspect a company that was going to be bought out by somebody up here in the States. And he went down there and he spent a month, 30 days. And he also has, his deal is, I have to also show the company my report. So hopefully they'll maybe improve things. And they see the grade that they're going to get that he's going to pass on to the potential buyer. So he went down, he stayed with the company, and he finally finished his inspection, and he gave it to him and it had a D. Nobody was going to buy it at this. And so he's talking to the president. The president sees D. Oh, God. And he gives the reasons why he gave it a D. So he's very candid. And he grounds it so that you can't say he's making this up. You can point to it, and this is why. show me where I'm wrong. So the president sort of, well, you know, brings in a little lemonade. It's hot down in South, South America. He says, well, listen, Bill, tell you what, you might have some projects you need some funds for. And I could help you out with maybe 50 grand. If you could maybe alter that at least to a B. And Bill said, no. That company, Exxon.
Exxon.
Exxon, okay, Exxon.
Yes.
Now you get it?
Exxon level.
So Bill would not compromise his integrity. He just stayed cool. This is what I see. This is why I see it. That's why I'm paid. Now, that's the way you've got to be. You assess and then determine your action. You're doing it all the time. Think about it. You come, you're going out to dinner. You assess the menu and say, there's a lot of good choices often, but maybe you talk to the waiter and you say, of these two, which would you prefer? Why? You factor that in, you say, okay, I'll have this. You do it with your children. You see them act in a certain way, you either endorse it or you hopefully restrain them a little bit. So, that's why I say Sri Vidya endorses human nature fully. And in that endorsement, it amounts to giving the right sunshine, the right water, the exposure, so that nature blossoms. And the word blossom means happiness. The word perfection is from the Latin perfectus. Per meaning through, fectus meaning fulfillment. It's a process of working through life to get to fulfillment. And that's what happiness is, and that's what Sri Vidya is trying to endorse. That's why I'd be so open to parts of Greek philosophy that it reminded me of.
So what do you mean exactly by endorse?
Affirm,
Okay, like acknowledge.
acknowledge.
Okay.
Huh? If you say, do you think I should go to Vancouver for vacation? I said, I endorse you. I would. Any
Just one
questions?
more question.
Yes, sir.
I believe the message said, well, I don't remember what the message said, but something Sri Vidya, and is there a practice that you could recommend, I think, to fulfill that or get there?
I wonder who wrote the question.
Can you explain that? Anyway, I'm just curious, I mean, are there, what do
Yes.
you mean by a practice to realize that more? That's what
To expedite, like that
Okay,
word, no?
expedite.
To hasten, if it's possible, the development. Yes, there is. There are many. Key one, obviously, meditation. I mean, I could go down the line, but let me give you, overall, I would say, take a holistic approach to life. Don't put your eggs all in one basket, as they say. You've got to take care of your body, your children, your spouse, your friends. You've got to take care of yourself all the time. We don't sacrifice ourselves for other people. That's stupid. So, you assess reality and you make, and the word I love is, you make the prudent decision. What is best in these circumstances, at this time, in the right way, for just the amount that it requires. That's being prudent. That's the best way to grow
Thank you.
in Sri Vidya. Now, I've left out one little thing deliberately because I want to spend just a moment on that. The purpose of meditation, hang on, is to prepare you for contemplation. Meditation is the training you're doing for the Olympics. The Olympics is contemplation. Because what do you do in Olympics? You're expressing your training. Look who I am, look what I've achieved. And you do the best you can in the Olympics. That's contemplation. Now, oftentimes, you can combine the two and achieve something very unique. Let me tell you a story. There was a remarkable athlete way back, 100 years ago. His name was Jim Thorpe. Anybody remember him? The Indian?
100 years ago, I don't remember.
You weren't around? Oh.
Sorry.
Well, I recall him.
Yeah.
Jim Thorpe was a Carlisle Indian. And he was running in the Olympics. And he was one of the decathlon men. Now the decathlon in the Olympics has 10 events, 5 field events, 5 running events. It's got to be performed over 2 days against competition. Can you imagine 10 events at the finest athletes in the world? Okay. At that time, you couldn't fly to Europe on Delta. You had to go by boat. Not rowboat, but just regular boat. Now, Jim assessed himself. And he said, the weakest event I have is what used to be called the broad jump. Now it's called the long jump. So what am I going to do? When he got on the boat, you know, the deck that goes around, and there's a middle part, he knew how far the path was when you ran down. You all know what the broad jump is? You run down and you leap, and there's a board you hit. If you go over the board, you're disqualified. So you hit the board and leap and go as far as you can in an arc. He knew how far it was. They were being held in, I think, London at that time. So he walked off on the board deck the length of the path he'd be running at the Olympics. And he put something where the board would be, some item or box or something. He went back to the beginning and sat down. And what he did, he visualized himself running down and leaping over and over and over for 45 minutes every day for the 11-day trip across the ocean. In the Olympics, he broke the world's record. Now that's meditation and contemplation. In meditation, he got centered completely within, and then he created the imagination and the concept and saw himself running. That's contemplation, as he watched himself and making the leap. And that's what happened. They've done things like that with basketball players pretending they were shooting hoops. They've improved their shooting immensely. Because when you create that kind of an image with that kind of intensity repeatedly, you change the neurons in your body. Everything gets ready to fulfill that objective. So the more you act prudently in life, the more you're setting yourself up to continue that orientation to living. That's how you progress. And that's how your intuition increases, your dexterity, the affinity you have for a situation and knowing what's the right thing to do at the right time, in the right way. You live a prudent life. And we call that virtue. And the blossoming of virtue is happiness or self-realization. That's all it is. It means the same thing. Fulfillment, enlightenment, self-realization, they're all one and the same. Happiness. When you get to that point, you can predict the future. Because you just know. You see how all the streams of energy are running. You can be able to read a body interiorly. You'll know what's awry, perhaps in the kidney or the pancreas. You can also maybe affect that energy. So that's what Sri Vidya is leading you to. Anything else?
Does intention always have to have a vision with it in order to be a fulfillment?
Yep. You always have some kind of vision. Right.
So you can't do that with spiritual development?
That's what spiritual development is.
That's, it's using the mind, that's what you described in mind.
It's the whole
Pages.
person. Huh?
Wait, can I
Yes,
ask a
please.
question on that? So, my understanding of meditation was that it brings you past the thinking process altogether.
Correct.
So in that realm of being, is that not past contemplation as well?
Okay. They're two very distinct activities. You're totally right. In the act of meditation, we release our occupation with thought, reasoning, imagining. What we're doing is we're dwelling upon the silence within, which is kind of strange when you think about it. And we feel the result. Now, life can't be just that. Life would you'd be just sitting there on your butt. So, the result of that activity of transcending the rational process has a mysterious, and I mean that because it's interesting, it strengthens all your faculties, all your powers, when you come out of meditation, to utilize them better. And at the same time, because of that centering, that calmness, that silence and that quietness, when you look at life, you're not just at the surface, like a child might be, but you're able to perceive a little deeper and see relationships that are there but are not perceptive unless you have the quietness within to not be disturbed in any way, but simply to see what is really there. That's contemplation. So meditation feeds right into contemplation. They go together, they're brother and sister.
It's like taking the result of the meditation
There you go.
and directing it.
Exactly. The result of meditation is contemplation, so to speak.
Hmm.
That's the way the two work together.
Interesting.
And of course, the more you contemplate and enjoy the beauty, the wonder of it all, the more you say, oh, I want to meditate more, because I want to enrich that even more. That's what happens. What role, if any, does devotion or love? The act itself is an act of love. The act of meditating the act of contemplating. You're fully endorsing the reality. You're feeling good about it. That's a subtlety there that it's hard to work out, but the whole enterprise is an act of love, otherwise you wouldn't do it. We only do things that in some way we love. Somehow we see that this is some kind of fulfillment. Might be a little bit, but that's why I do it. Then you say, well, how come people do bad things? Because they have perverted love. You can do it. You can abuse it. But they're still doing it because they somehow think they're going to gain something. And that's why they do it. So when you bring that affirmation of life, which is love, together with the experience that you generate of meditation and contemplation, now that's what you might say is the total fulfillment of human nature. When I'd watched Swami Rama over the years react with people or events that were touching his life or his institute, there were sometimes things he wouldn't do. And at first I thought, well, why did he not do that? I would have done it. And then I kept pondering, and sometimes I would ask him, and he would give me his reason, and it made sense. And as you know, sometimes you can't always fulfill your child's dream at the moment, because worse things would happen if you did. Whether it be food or staying up late, something like that. So it doesn't mean, love does not mean you have to constantly endorse a particular issue or thing. It means being prudent too. It means, what's the best way to love this person? What's the best way to perform this action? And it may be by refraining from it. So, love is an essential, indispensable presence in every act of meditation, contemplation, and human action. It's not possible not to love or abuse it. I stop deliberately, now I'll go on because there's a connection here. Does love or devotion play into the repetition of a mantra or during meditation? Yeah. You wouldn't do it unless you love it. And why do you love it? If I ask you, why do you meditate? You tell me, I say, that's because you love it. That's the way you spell out the love. You like the peace. You like to release the distress. You want to feel restored. You want to quiet down the mind. Why? Because you love it. It makes sense. You feel good. You are enriched. That's the result, the fruits of your love.